Okay, how long should your long run be if you're training to run 5K? Now, I got a great question yesterday from Devon in the comments. Can you make a video on how to build better endurance? I'm stuck on 22 to 25 minutes for 5K. I want to really go sub 21 or even sub 20. I'm 20 years old and I'm also running workouts at 4 minutes per kilometer. Thank you. Brilliant, Devon. Like, great that you got into running, great that you're sort of thinking about progress, and easily in the future, if you're already at 22 to 25 minutes, you're going to be able to run sub 20. How do we get there optimally? Now, it's not a sort of off-the-shelf answer that I want to give you, sort of like, what should my long run be for 5K? It should be 90 minutes. It's not that easy, although that's what you could find if you Google search this. What we need to know is, and it's probably sort of initiated that question, the probable reason you're asking that question to build endurance is because you're probably getting fatigued towards the end of the 5K. And whether you're running 5K, 10K, ultramarathon, doesn't matter. If you push 5K and if you're pushing the limits, which you are, you're going to get tired towards the end. The nature of distance running. So how do we build that endurance? Firstly, we've got to look at the background. What are your strengths and weaknesses? And the background, if you're 20, probably you've been doing other sports, or if you've been doing other sports, what have been your strengths and weaknesses? Are you playing football and you're really fast over 50 meters and you can take the ball 50 meters, but actually in the end of the game, you're getting fatigued because you've not got as many slow switch muscle fibers as you've got your very strong fast switch muscle fibers, but you've not got the slow switch muscle fibers. Very difficult to say. So you've got to look at your strengths and weaknesses. And if you need to, you're always going to develop your strengths, of course, but you also need to develop your weaknesses. And by developing your weaknesses and turning those into strengths, that kind of leapfrogs you forward and gives you a superpower. So how do we do that? Now, if you're running 5K and you've got some kind of structure in place, and your goal is to run 5K as quick as you can, that's one thing. If you in the future want to progress on to running further distances, 10K, half marathon, marathon, we also want to improve that aspect of our game so we can naturally move on to those different distances and become strong at those. And then if we're good at them, we're in this positive feedback loop where I'm good at that, I'm going to keep doing it, going to keep building the habit, keep kind of the consistency, keep the discipline in place. And that's going to lead you on to great things, whether it's in distance running, other sports, etc., and also in your career and life. But if you're right now trying to build 5K endurance so that you can push in the final couple of kilometers, final 2 kilometers, final 1 kilometer, if you can push and maintain speed, and you're already doing workouts at 4 minutes per kilometer, what we want to do is something like this. You want to figure out what is your current long run. So how far can you run? You know you can run 5K, but is your long run 8 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 12 kilometers? Where are you up to right now? And what does that long run look like? Are you going out there and trying to run that as quickly as you can? Or are you judging it based on zone? So you're judging it based on the effort level. In your long run, you want to be in zone 2. And so you want to be able to, that feels like you can have a conversation, not maybe a full conversation like you would face to face in a coffee shop, but you want to be able to ask questions, be able to answer questions quite comfortably if you're running with a buddy. That's how it should feel. Distance-wise, it's all about gradually adding. So if your current long run is 8 kilometers, that's where you start. And then you'll run 8 kilometers on that first weekend. You only need 1 long run per week. I love to do mine on a Sunday. So if you do that 8 kilometers on a Sunday, the following week you do 10 kilometers, the following week you do 12 kilometers, you bring it back to 8 kilometers or even 10 kilometers, and then you go again, and maybe 14 kilometers, 16 kilometers. And what that will get you to is about an hour and a half. Now the best 5 kilometers and 10 kilometer runners, Olympic athletes that are running 5,000 meters and 10,000 meters on the track, their long runs are about 2 hours. But when you talk to them, you ask them how quick you're doing them, you think, okay, they're going to be super quick. They're not. A lot of these guys are covering sort of only 24 kilometers. So when you kind of look at that in relation to their pace, their race pace, they're able to run 28 minutes for 10,000 meters, but their long run is 5 minutes per kilometer. It's 50 minutes for 10K. That's the sort of relation you need because they know that the long run purpose is to build endurance, to build stamina, to build the capacity of the lungs, to build the surface area of the alveoli. So they're building a stronger, bigger engine so that when you try to then go fast and when you add speed on your interval day, or when you try to run fast on race day, you've got more to tap into. It's that simple. So the key is gradual. There's no need for 5K, at this level, when you're still sort of moving towards a sub 20 minute and you're already at sort of 22 to 25 minutes, there's no need to do too much. So keep that comfortable and top it out at about an hour and a half. And then what you want to do is increase the volume of the intervals. So if you're currently going out there and doing 8 times 800 meters, which is a key session, and you're doing that at about 5K race pace or faster than 5K race pace, you're learning how to run fast 800 meters, and that's tapping in nicely. The speed work is tapping into the 5K race that you're going to be doing. But if you then increase the volume of the total distance, so instead of doing 8 times 800 meters, 6,400 meters, you start to increase that volume. Either you split that up into, let's say, 250 meter intervals to really boost running economy and boost speed. Then you're doing 400 meter intervals, then 600 meter intervals, then 800 meter intervals, kilometer intervals, 5-minute intervals, 10-minute intervals. And as I've said before on this channel, you get to a point where you can do 2 times 10 minutes, 2 times and at 5K pace. Obviously, you're going to need to run quite a portion of that, that 10-minute interval. You're going to need to be able to run that at 5K pace if you've got any chance of running 20 minutes for 5K. And what I'd say in training is if you can do your intervals and get up to that 10-minute point, and even 15-minute point if you're aiming for a 20-minute 5K, then you're in a really good place. You should be full of confidence. Together with the long run and you gradually building endurance and stamina, you know that in the last third of that race and in the last quarter, you can really push on and gather those minutes and sort of not lose any time. If just by the question, the chances are right now you're going out at a certain pace, and maybe that's 4-minute pace or something close to, and as the race goes on, you start to get a little bit slower, and then the 4th and 5th kilometer, like it is for anybody in any race, the 4th and untrained especially, the 4th and 5th kilometers start to go super slow, and that's where you feel as if you're losing minutes or seconds. We can rectify that just by training. So the interval session is going to really help you out there, and the long run's really going to help you out. And the way that they feed into each other, so in the long run, you're building strength so that you can push it more in the interval and for longer. So more volume, longer intervals, and push that pace. And as much 5K pace we can do, or in relation to 5K pace, so if you think of 4-minute pace, which is your 5K target pace, that's 240 seconds. So if you go 10% faster and you're working, say, at 400 meter intervals or 800 meter interval, kilometer intervals, and you're doing them at 3:36, that's going to tie in nicely and make that 5K race pace feel really comfy. And then you can push on the 4th and 5th kilometer. Super important, great question. I love that type of question because it's very practical and it works for everybody. But as you move on, remember that if you're doing 10Ks as well, remember that even the best, we're talking Olympic athletes that are representing the country, they're only running 2 hours, and it's usually a 2-hour comfortable run where they're jogging with pal or in a group, and it's slow, it's easy. The purpose, it's all about what is the purpose of this run. Good luck, and if you've got any more questions, pop them in the comments below and I'll answer them, and press the like and notification bell. Thank you.